and welcome to this week on Empowered to Love. I hope y'all are all doing well out there in the world. I'm having a wild week. My husband broke his foot about a week and a half ago and has to have surgery this weekend, and the in-between is really crazy. So our little world went a little bit wonky, but we're still here and we're still navigating, and with all the stress, it's given me an opportunity to practice so many of these skills that we talk about and how to love well. So I'm doing that this week by discussing another lie that I have believed in my life, and I'm really navigating how to really overcome it in a way that loves others well. So I will just share all my messiness with you this week and how I struggle in this area. And so this week on Empowered to Love, we are looking at how do you honor others and also be honest and vulnerable and share your truth. All right. And I have believed the lie basically my entire life that in order to honor others, you don't say anything. That is the lie that I believe. So I said very specifically, in order to honor others, my parents, my husband, everyone, I needed to brush bad behavior under the rug and not make them feel bad about their shortcomings by bringing it up to them or to anyone else. So if someone was doing something that was hurtful in my life, I would not say anything to anyone anywhere, and I would just stuff it and I would carry it. And this was not healthy for me. Obviously, being passive is not healthy. And in the process, it was very challenging to navigate a way to overcome that. So this scripture that I kind of twisted is one that is very well known, and it is going to be Ephesians 6, 2-3. And it says, honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on earth. Well, I obviously wanted to enjoy long life. Like, I wanted to go well with me. So I really thought about this, and it's like, how do I honor? Well, you definitely, if you're honoring someone and you're respecting them, which is the utmost important to me, you don't make them feel bad. And so that's actually one of the things that perpetuated this entire cycle for me, is that I have always struggled for taking responsibility for everyone else's feelings. And I'm very protective of their feelings. I want to make sure that everyone around me is feeling good and loved at all times. And if they're not, it's my responsibility to fix it. Well, this obviously is not my responsibility. It's not my weight to carry. It's not my burden to bear. In the process, it perpetuated unhealthy coping skills. It perpetuated toxic relationships. It created an environment where I constantly was stuffing things. And then when I finally did communicate what I had to say, like, hey, ouch, like this is hurting, on the other side, the response is, well, you are just crazy, or, oh my gosh, like, this is like, they would make me feel bad for calling them out. And not in the sense directly, it was more along the lines of, you're being too dramatic, or wow, this frustration that you're feeling, it's really out there and it's really angry, right? And so learning how to not be passive, not in turn turning around to be aggressive and finding a way to be assertive has been a challenge for me in my life. So I am still in the process of navigating it, and I will share that with you today. So one of the things that I talked about this past week is in my blog, I was writing about and really looking at this balance. And so where do we find, because more than anything, like, I want my worldview, the lens through which I look at the world, how I solve problems, I wanted to look at it through the lens of scripture. So looking at some of the scriptures this week, it is comforting, and it helps me sort through all of these tangly messes. And some of the scriptures that came up is going to be three different things that I really love that help me. And one of them is Ephesians 4:25. All right, in Ephesians 4:25, it says, therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, for we are all members of one body. So honesty is an essential component of connected relationships. And by withholding my honest feelings and that honest truth, it did not help anyone anywhere. It did not give them an opportunity to clean up their behavior or to address the pain. And so what it was doing, my dishonesty, honestly, my dishonesty was creating a wedge in that relationship by not sharing where I was at. Now, this does not give me license to just take scripture and beat someone against the head with it and make demands of them in an angry way, like screaming, like, this is so awful, you've got to stop. No, like that's not healthy, and that's not going to help anything. But to honestly say, hey, that behavior today, that like really hurt my feelings, and I need you to be aware of that and do that different, right? Like that is what we are called to do in the body. All right. And that's what we're called to do in families. And more importantly, and all of it's important, but in marriages, this is where this has come up a lot for me, because in friendships, like you can keep it a bit more surface level. And if feelings get hurt, like you get to go home and it's not part of your day to day, but you cannot hide from this in marriage. And so navigating that and navigating your communication styles is something that's super important. The other scripture that I found as I was pouring through this information, trying to find the balance of what scripture says and apply it to my life, was looking at Proverbs 27:6. And it says, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. So offering constructive feedback is an act of true friendship. All right, but providing insights that highlights areas for improvement, we honor the potential for growth. So when you say what you're feeling and it gives them the opportunity to grow, it truly means that you feel like they have the potential to do that. And that's important, that as a friend or a wife or a husband, that when someone says, hey, this is an opportunity, that we can take that and utilize that. And even if it's only like 1% true, you know what, maybe they are being a little bit exaggerating, or maybe they are being a bit sensitive or dramatic, or all those things that we say to try and minimize what they're sharing with us. Maybe that is very true. But if there is even a 1 or a 2% amount of truth, like I want to know it. Like I want to be able to utilize that truth of something that I can't see in myself to do better. All right. And there is even one more that I found that I really, really liked, and it was talking about setting boundaries with respect. So 2 Corinthians 6:14, it says, do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with the darkness? Communicating openly about unacceptable behaviors and establishing boundaries is an expression of respect. This aligns with biblical teachings on maintaining righteousness and avoiding compromises that may harm relationships. All right. So whenever we look at all of these things together, what we find is that when you navigate how to open up your heart and share how you feel in a way that is respectful, this is not dishonoring someone else. When you set a boundary of what you prioritize, what matters to your heart, how you will or will not participate, if the other person gets angry, this is not a reflection of you. What that reflects is that you understand the different aspects of a healthy relationship, and you are doing that for yourself, right? Because you respect yourself and you love yourself and you preserve the peace and the joy that God has blessed you with. And in doing that, if the other person does not take that well, that means that there is an area that they are going to need to grow in. Now, as you're doing this for myself, as I just told you, whenever I went from being passive to communicating, it's so important that when we speak to others, that you are kind, that you are respectful, that you don't call them names, you don't use foul language, you don't scream, You know, like taking all of those things are going to be abusive. But if you calmly state where you were at and what your thoughts are, on the other side, it's the other person's responsibility to listen, to check the ego at the door, to take it to God afterwards. Like if they're like, I don't get that, like that doesn't make sense to me, they can still say, hey, I'm not understanding that. I'm definitely hearing you. I'm going to pray about that. And can we finish the conversation later? That's a way that they could respond. All right. But just know that that lie that I believed, where me opening up and sharing the truth and sharing these things, that was not something that was unhealthy or wrong on my part. Even though the people on the other side, they would be like, you're so horrible, you're such a this and that, like I was not responsible for their feelings. And that took me a very long time to figure out. It's something I still struggle with. And even this week, I will be totally honest. I communicated something, I did so good, I was super healthy. A couple days later, I didn't feel that it was heard well, and I did get frustrated. You know, I did respond in a way that was unkind. It was short. It was not encouraging. It was not helpful, you know, and I had to own that, you know, and it was so important for me to go back and say, okay, that wasn't encouraging. I do recognize that. I do apologize. I'm going to do better, you know, and that's what we have to do on a daily basis in relationships. If healthy communication is new to you, it is okay. If you were not raised with this and it is something that you do not understand, it is a journey. And we can work together to navigate that and to have someone on the other side that can hear you and understand and grow together too is so important. Because guys, you can do all of these things. You can learn, you can be the most healthy communicator, but if you have someone on the other side that isn't putting in that same work and pursuing God with these things and doing the work to grow and listening and caring and understanding what this process is, it's going to be very difficult. So just know that it does take two, but do your part. You are only responsible for yourself. And as you take that responsibility for yourself, and when you mess up, you clean it up, and you continue to do the work to grow, that is what matters. And that's what love is. And that's why we are called to love and be empowered to love each and every single day to reflect Christ. And if we're getting it messy in the process, there is enough grace for you. So God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week.